Hey, welcome to the Tech-Mex Podcast. We're your hosts, Eric Mando, and this is episode 45, bringing you the top stories in Bitcoin, tech, and wealth so you too can buy some Buc-ee Beaver Nugget Stock. Dale. Dale.
Man, you know, the Buc-ee's, if you are listening from outside of the country and outside of Texas, we have this gas station, Buc-ee's. We all love Buc-ee's. It's like, imagine that you need to pee in the middle of the road. Like, man, you see a gas station with a beaver in their face, and it's like a very funny mascot.
It's like in the middle of nowhere. There's like this holy light that's coming. It's like, come to mama.
And check this out. Clean bathrooms from a gas station. That's Buc-ee's, baby. It's funny that it's actually they're planning to do an IPO there, right? With that. So there's a lot of news that we will cover on this pod regarding stock exchange.
Yeah, so we'll get to that. But first, we're going to talk about the Roaring Kitty live stream. Oh my goodness. Did you see what's going on? First of all, okay, let's talk about Roaring Kitty. Where did this guy come from? Where is this story from? What's the history there, Mando?
There is even a movie, and I think that they call it Dumb Money, right? Which is like in Wall Street, you hear that is the smart money where you have all of these hedge funds. They're almost like the professionals, right?
Smart men.
They professionals because sometimes they're just trying to sell different instruments and financial. That's another thing, right? There is a bunch of people. There is another book, The Man That Beat the Market. He started trying to actually beat Las Vegas, and he did. Then he moved from Las Vegas, like, well, what is the biggest casino and all?
That's a good point. Smart man.
The stock exchange, and yes, so he basically moved to doing this, right? So I think that the story is kind of laid out, but here is the surprising part. The guy actually had to go to Congress because there was like a lawsuit with SEC and him because he was trying to lead the people, and he had to be in a hearing, and the whole thing. Mm-hmm. You can see that he was scared, because he was like in his suit. I was like, yes, ma'am. No, ma'am, right?
Yeah, he was. And okay, and for those of you that don't realize this, we're talking about the GameStop stock, right? Because there's a bunch of shorters that were trying to short the GameStop. And there's a bunch of people that are like, hey, man, we like GameStop. They're the only place that you can buy these physical video games, right? We don't want it to go away. They're shorting the stock. But this guy figured out that there was actually more stock being shorted than is actually even available. So for whatever reason, the stock exchange allows like 140% of the stock to be shorted, even though, right, you should only be able to do up to 100%, right? And so they're like, this is dumb. We can actually drive the price up of GameStop stock and make these people lose all their money. So it's kind of like the big guy versus the little guy, and it looked like the little guy was winning.
Yeah, and I think that sometimes they get abused, and I think that they become like a meme, right? And you, as you say it, it's like all of the usually youngsters, right? It's like a people that like, hey, yeah, I'm gonna dump some money because I like GameStop, right? So, and in that point, it was a few years back. They also did that with Bed and Beyond.
Bed Bath and Beyond.
Bed Bath, exactly. And there was another company, AMC. Mm-hmm. So the movie theater company. But I think that they like GameStop, right? So, and that's the one that he came back. So the part that I'm surprised is that now this guy is kind of almost like a cult.
He's got a real big following, right? So he decided to do this live stream, and everyone's like, "What's he gonna do?" Right?
Yes. And that's the part that I'm very surprised how the mass sometimes follows these guys, right? So, and by the way, also he's putting the money right in this thing, and
he's got a lot of money out there.
He was able to get like only a few $1,000 to 40 million last time. And now I think that he's almost got it to outrageous amounts. I have seen that he already has 100 mils from that trade. So not sure what is the latest.
I think what I saw was there was a, they always say, you buy the rumor, sell the news, right?
Hmm.
So leading up to this first, his first return to social media, right? This live thing that he was going to do, the stock was like going up, going up, going up, right? And people knew how much he had. He almost reached $1 billion worth in from this run up. But then he does a live stream, right? And it starts crashing. Everything starts going down. But also the E-Trade or whatever, they kept putting stops on all of this, or the exchange kept putting stops on the stock. So people are like, oh no, they're gonna freeze the stock. I'm gonna lose my money, and it just kept going down, 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 down. So it went down to probably 100 million. Right? It's not too bad, I
Yep.
guess. But he was close to $1 billion apparently. Um,
Yeah, it's I'm probably we're gonna have another hearing. The SEC, which is basically the government institution that regulates all of this, doesn't like this, and a lot of people sometimes they go to jail because inside trading and so market manipulation, right? So there is a lot of rules regarding this.
yeah,
I feel that he is tippy tapping, in he's like, laughing at this thing, but
yeah.
tough. I hear and I see why he's doing this, but I feel that maybe it's like, man, if you are a billionaire but in jail, right? You never
What's the
tamper with
point?
your freedom, man.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. This guy, here's the thing. So we're saying, like, the first time around when he talked to Congress, it looked like he was wearing a suit and tie. He was trying to be serious. But
Yes,
when he did this live stream the other day, he looked like he was on something. I don't know. Of course, he always has his beer. That was like his thing, is he would do his live stream with a beer, and he just talk about why, people should buy GameStop. Well, this time he kind of did the same thing, but he was a little off. He had like a bunch of bloody band-aids. He had like a bandage around his head, like he was beat up. As people are just like
so my
confused, right?
government already beat him up.
Yeah, it's like the government's beating up on him, but he was just a little bit out there. Like he didn't make too much sense. Now, maybe he's trying. It's a tactic, maybe, like, to combat the thing that they're saying he's manipulating the market, right? Maybe that's why he's like, no, I'm just having fun out here. Like, this is not serious, so that people can't say he's deliberately manipulating the market. But here's the thing: there's people compare, like, Pelosi's doing all these trades with insider information and stuff like that behind the back of the public, right? And we only see it after she does these trades. Well, this guy's showing like his actual account, what he's doing
Yeah,
live, and
yeah,
he's the one that they're coming after, right? Like, it
yeah.
doesn't really make sense. It's like rules
Full
for thee, or
transparency
rules
versus.
for thou,
Mhm.
not for thy, right? So it's like, it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, I think that is a social phenomenon, right? And I think that maybe all myself, I'm all for transparency, right? So if the guy is showing what he's doing, I mean, he's not putting a gun in his followers, right? It's like
Hmm.
and as long as he say, hey, this is my money and you can lose it all, right? Like a kind of a little bit of disclosure, but it's like just do whatever we want to do with your own money, right? So I think that that part has to be more spelled out. Now with social media is very 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 tricky. But yeah, I am curious what will be the result of this.
Yeah. But if y'all are looking for like a pretty good recap of kind of just this whole thing, yeah, there's that Netflix movie called Dumb Money, which is actually pretty entertaining. You can kind of see kind of how everything unfolded and see the whole story. And now there's, it's coming back up again after 3 years. So this is pretty interesting. We'll see what's going on. But there was actually, I think, when it tumbled, like this a couple of days ago, when the GameStop tumbled, it also took a lot of crypto down with it for some reason. Like, at that time, all the crypto dropped. Like, Bitcoin was at like close to 72 maybe, and it dropped back down to 69, which,
Yeah.
not, it's a few percent, right? But for whatever reason, like, that caused this like cascading effect to a lot of different things.
Interesting, man. Right now this week we had a bunch of news on that on Wall Street. The
Yeah.
other one is Cowboys versus Yankees.
Yeehaw! We're getting our own Texas exchange over here. What's it called?
It's a
TXSC, Texas Stock
TX.
Exchange.
That's right. So Texas is coming for Wall Street, baby.
I
And
don't know how this is gonna work. What is this about, Mando?
dude, guess who is funding this behind? And it's not too
It's the biggest,
secretive.
baddest boys that do everything, or what?
You know what? It's BlackRock again,
BlackRock,
right?
yeah.
And Citadel. They are funding this. They are raising. Basically, the news said that they are raising 120 mils to
Hmm.
be able to create a new stock exchange in Dallas.
Yeah.
I'm not sure why Houston. Well, I have my thinking why not Houston, but
That
but yes,
hurricanes probably, huh?
yeah, which is just that, right? And I think that is fine. You know, at the end of the day, it's Texas. Uh, it's just becoming another. I mean, if you see the top cities in United States, Texas is literally it has the triangle, right? You start having like a Dallas and Fort Worth, which is kind of only like a massive city now because those two cities grew so much that it just became kind of Dallas. Then you
Hmm.
have also Houston that is pretty big too, San Antonio and Austin. So a lot of these cities are pretty big. But the interesting part is why they did not choose Cali, right? So if they are trying to have another stock exchange, they probably maybe the natural way will be the other coast, right? But very interesting. What is your take there?
I don't know. There's like this big California exodus right now, right? And
Hmm.
that I don't think people right now are really looking to build over there. Um, in fact, like a lot of companies are moving their headquarters right from California over to Texas, like Hewlett Packard, where he used to work at some point, right? Their headquarters now in Texas also, right? Tesla is moving to Texas too, right? So
Yep.
there's lots of stuff that's going on, lots of um, new business and new economic opportunities coming to Texas. So I think it's kind of a natural fit for it to come to Texas. Everything else is coming to Texas right now.
Yeah. Now that we are older, do you remember that the CEO for HPE, it was your mentor, one of your mentors,
Yeah.
Antonio Neri,
He
right?
wasn't. Well, he wasn't my mentor, or he wasn't the CEO at the time that he was my mentor. But
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
Antonio
Neri.
Nieto
No,
Neri. That's
Neri.
his name. It's like I don't
Yeah,
remember. It
Neri.
was a long time ago.
Yes.
But that guy was really busy. I only met him, I think, a couple times because I could never get on his calendar. I'm like, all
Your
right,
mentor.
man. Thanks for mentoring me. I got it. But I guess I can still say that. Yeah, I met the guy. So
Yes, you know, it's like you start advancing and you start remember some of these people. They that's a path, right? Just to keep being on the company and just climb the food chain and all of that, right? So, but yes, some of these people they become the heads of the companies.
yeah.
So, but yeah, now that you mention it, but just going back to the Texas Stock Exchange, I think that uh, there's a lot of good that is going to come from this. I think for Texas, it's getting positioned Texas to be a very good location for businesses. I mean, now that you have Austin, if you have a kind of the tech hub, it was there, but if you travel to Austin lately, they created a couple downtowns. It used to be your regular downtown town, but it
Hmm.
was getting very busy. So they created this area that they call the domain area, which is becoming another downtown for companies. You have your Amazon, you have your
Hmm.
IBM and PayPal, etc. Kind of in that on that area. So and now in Dallas, it's becoming the financial district. It's a little bit far away, but still, I think that now with the train that they're trying to build, it might be only like 4 hours away, right? So
Yeah,
if
or even quicker, right? With the high speed train, I think it's just 90 minutes
oh
is what
wow,
they're
yeah,
trying to make it
maybe
from Houston
that's
to
kind of the
Dallas.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's kind of maybe the answer that between these cities, it might be like being on um, in New York. Sometimes it takes you. I don't know if you're in Brooklyn or some of these areas. It might take you 1 hour and a half to use the train.
Yeah,
So
Connecticut to New York. Yeah, there's those trains that it's not too bad.
yeah. So I think that a great strategy, approved for BlackRock. We welcome your dollars to Texas.
And so I think the an interesting part of this is like, okay, so they're gonna try and IPO some Texas companies here, right? That's why
Mhm.
I'm thinking we're gonna have the Buc-ee's Beaver Nugget Stock IPO here pretty soon. I think that'll be pretty interesting. People love Buc-ee's, of course. There's going to be also several others that can go out there with a bunch of Texas companies out
Dude,
here.
HEB is the
HEB. Ah, yeah,
mhm.
man. People love HEB. So you can get
HEB
your
is our
HEB bucks.
that's right. HEB is our kind of like a grocery store. It's kind of a medium size. It's between your kind of Walmart,
Hmm.
uh, and also has a little bit of the Whole Foods. It's not too like in that extreme on the organic and all of that. Something in the middle. But they have their own products. Once again, Texans really like HEB, and that company is also worth billions, and is I
Hmm.
believe is private. So I think that maybe they might try to cash it out with the stock market.
No, for sure. And also, Texas is getting a lot of uh, Bitcoin mining companies or crypto companies. A lot of people are setting up kind of this new financial center in Texas, specifically with crypto. So I think there's a really good opportunity there also for, maybe there's opportunity for some of these Texas based crypto companies to go public also through the new Texas Stock Exchange.
Yeah, and it's always hard to get another exchange going on, right? Because obviously, kind of like the liquidity and the majority of the concentration is in the New York Stock Exchange. So
Mhm.
we'll see how all of this develops.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. And, I think there's also this, in the background, Texas is always like, oh, we're a self sufficient country on our own, right? Right. Texas used to be its own country for those of you that aren't familiar with that history. So maybe that's why they also want their own stocks exchange to kind of continue that narrative that, Texas could secede one day or whatever. Because, there's still rumblings about that you hear about every day here in Texas. So that stuff never goes away. But it's all kind of some politics and stuff that they'll go back and forth.
Yeah, I I think that I remember that maybe Germany might be almost the size of Texas, so it can be its own country. It's so huge, Texas, that it's just the massive. I When you drive from side to side, it's almost 7 8 hours
Oh, it
to
takes a
just
while, like even longer, I think. Yeah,
yeah,
depending where you're starting from. So
yeah, yeah.
yeah, there's space. There's definitely space for a stock exchange, right? Wow,
Always better for consumers. We might get better deals, and
right?
competition is always great.
Cheaper Bitcoin
Capitalism, baby.
ETFs, baby. All right. Well, speaking of emerging markets, you were talking about that there's some pretty strong inflation going on over in Turkey. And I know Argentina has also been kind of struggling with this recently. What's going on over there?
Dude, this is where we Bitcoiners we feel that it's a great instrument for markets like this. Uh, when their inflation is like 75%, it hit literally Turkey's inflation 75%,
Yeah.
and then Argentina is the similar, right? It's just their Argentinian pesos is just like gone 99%, right, of their value. So
Yeah, it's
um,
ridiculous.
I think that that's if you remember, like here in US, we used to have like the pegging with the gold
Hmm.
standard, and then they moved because they wanted to start printing money. I forgot the year, in the 60s,
1971.
something like that. So I think that maybe a way is for these emerging markets is to start putting in their books that they have X amount of Bitcoin. And we're seeing that happening with El Salvador.
Hmm.
And dude, the guy played nicely, Bukele, right? So shout out to that guy, pushing through through his people, right, and trying to clean out his country. And now being there, I'm disappointed that Mexico hasn't done something like that, right? Like, man, it's like they should be able to do it, right? And
There's
but yes,
hope. I saw Scheinbaum talking with Fink. right? Larry Fink.
I
They're
did
talking.
I did see that. So we so it's like 2 days after she wins, right? And Larry Fink, BlackRock
Larry said,
again.
"Let me take you out to lunch."
Yeah, she's Jewish, so I think that that also kind of helped in that
Part of the club. One of
as part of
us.
the
One
club.
of us.
So I think that that's what is happening with emerging markets, where if they put some Bitcoin in their books, it will allow them to be able to even to borrow against, because it's like, hey, I have something here too that actually backing me up, which is my stash in Bitcoin, right?
Yep.
So what's your take there?
Yeah, I mean, I think whenever we start hearing these stories about inflation, Bitcoiners are always just like saying, Bitcoin fixes this. So, in a way, there's a little frustration in that, like, hey, for these countries that are losing, and so for those of you that may not be super clear, what does 75% inflation mean? What does 100% inflation mean to them? That means like the groceries that you spent $100 for this year, the same groceries are going to cost you $200 next year, and it keeps doing that every single year. And since its percentage is like doubling, or your money value is halving, so uh, imagine the folks that are living through this every day. It's super tough, and your money, the thing that you work for every single day, just keeps being devalued and devalued just because of the choices or the economics of the country and things like that. So that's why these inflation rates are super hard. I know a lot of people in the US have felt this, right? We were complaining about what 8% inflation or whatever, 10% inflation in some areas, right? Our groceries, you felt that hit. Well, these people are talking about 100% inflation, so 10 times worse. So that's why we're talking about that. And Bitcoin does solve this, right? If you're able to opt out into a different currency, um, something like Bitcoin that holds its value or even goes up because you can't print more of it, that's a really good solution. And like in Argentina, they're breathing a sigh of relief because they only have 8% inflation for the month. So for the year, they were like at 200, almost 300%. So that means like a third of the value from January to December. At December, your $1 is now worth only 33 cents, right? Like that's a huge difference. And that's the thing that they're contending with over there. So I think it would be smart of that government to really take a hard look at Bitcoin as a way to do that, because Bukele did it with El Salvador, and they're profitable in their Bitcoin, and they're looking to see how they can even mine and do things like that. So I don't know. There's hope. There's hope there for those folks.
Yeah, and I was when I was trying to prepare for this the pod, I was looking why they call them emerging markets, and it's a way to say basically that they are developing, I guess, because it says here on the description, an emerging market is a market that some characteristics from developed market, but is not fully meeting the standards. So and I think that a lot of the Latin American countries might fit that. So uh, I think that maybe that's the other next chunk of inflow of money that we're gonna see probably to Bitcoin, right? Because now is you start going into the ETFs and the institutions and getting some rules, right, from countries like US. Then we might start seeing more countries, emerging markets, start moving some money to that. And I think that also we're gonna start seeing some uh, companies that they are maybe not your Facebook or not your Microsoft, but actually smaller companies that they have money in the bank and they don't know what to do with it, right? Because they cannot spend it because they still need some liquidity, but also they don't wanna buy another stocks. But they might actually say, you know what, as might as well just put it in another currency instead of having in fiat. So I can see another inflow 10-20% of that on the treasuries to start gaining. So I think that that's what is going to propel to keep increasing the price of Bitcoin.
Yeah, for sure. There's a lot of opportunity there, and I think it'll help with a lot of countries, businesses, finances as a good store of value.
Yep.
Um, what's up?
Yeah, I think that the next one is there is this law called the Fit 21.
Mm.
So what do you hear from that?
Yeah. So I mean, we're talking about how there's countries that need to make the move to try and figure out how to leverage Bitcoin or crypto to help their finances, right? So here in the US, we're kind of in a similar way, right? We're trying to figure out the legislation around how to really use this with good regulations. So there was a proposal for fit, they call it Fit 21. So it's basically like what's it stand for like financial, it's basically having a financial fitness for the 21st century, right?
Yeah.
So 21st century really indicating more of like digital currencies and things like that. That's what the Fit 21, they're trying to get cute with the naming, right? But really, it, everyone, I would say it has bipartisan support. So it had from both Democrats and Republicans for this to get passed, and it did get passed through the House. So that's a good thing, and it was going to go to the Senate, but Biden vetoed it recently. So I'm not really sure what's going on here in terms of that. I don't know. Have you heard anything else about that?
It's just political tension, right? This year we're gonna do elections, so it's gonna be very interesting. And as we mentioned in a previous pod, now Trump is pro Bitcoin.
Yeah.
So it's just, I think that it's just as simple as that. That they are trying to use stop this. The other thing that is happening is that we got approval for the ETS for Bitcoin, for spot Bitcoin, and now they're trying to get approval for Ethereum spot Bitcoin.
Mhm.
I do see them, the instruments, very different. It feels more like a security, like Ethereum. And the other thing is that if you open the gates for Ethereum ETF, it's very likely that you're gonna have to open the gates for Dogecoin, which are basically memes,
They're meme
coins.
coins. Imagine that.
So I can see the imagine that if you are the ACC, it's like, oh crap, right? Like now you're gonna have this Dogecoin in the IPO and literally in a stock exchange. Hopefully not in the Texas Stock Exchange,
Right.
right? So I think that they might push back there, and I think that maybe this ruling against is to kind of stop some of that. We'll see how it develops. There is already a lot of interest in both sides, but so far it's getting there. So once again, I think that there are some good things on that on those sets of rules, but we'll see how it develops in the next few months.
Yeah. So Fit 21 is financial innovation and technology for the 21st century. That's what the Fit 21 really stands for. And so here's the weird thing is like you mentioned, it seems like we're setting ourselves up for like this pro crypto, anti crypto between the two different parties, right? It When it passed in the House, it was 279 votes. Um, uh, a vote of 279 to 13 to 136. So 208 Republicans voted in favor, with only 71 Democrats voting in favor. And so, in any case, there's bipartisan support, but it seems like one of them is a little bit heavier, has heavier interest in crypto. So we'll see how
Yeah.
that continues to unravel, and we'll see what happens. But we do know if things do get passed, or there continues to be this kind of positive environment, we're going to see the big banana come.
Dude, I don't think that matters. And the banana that is coming is the banana zone, baby. So tell the audience, what is this banana zone?
Okay, so people call it the Omega candle, right? We've seen Samson Mao out there calling for the Omega candle. He thinks the Omega candle is going to be like the big push on the charts that leads us to $1 million Bitcoin. Is that's what they're saying the Omega candle is, right? And very similar, Raul Paul talks about the banana zone is when you see the chart just go bananas, but it's actually the shape of the banana or the hockey stick, some
The
people
hockey stick.
say, right? So that's what we're talking about, the banana zone. And there seems to be a big trend around Twitter, around social media, or in YouTube. People are bringing this up a lot more. There's kind of a lot more evidence. It seems like these ETFs have really uh, created a really good foundation for the Bitcoin price right here at between 60 and 70,000, which again, we're ahead of schedule. We hit a new all-time high even before the halving, and that's never happened before. So we hit a high like 6 months ahead of schedule. So people are taking that as a clue, like, hey man, maybe we're going to see this banana zone happen and things are going to go bananas and we may get this Omega candle straight up to $1 million. What do you think?
Once again, we are not financial advisors. We are like Roaring Kitty, right? It's like I need
we
to
don't
put
need
my
a call from Gensler.
yes, like I don't want to meet him. It's one of those guys that I don't care. So yes, I think that is just our points of view, and I think that that zone is what we are looking for, the banana zone, which. I think that we probably in the next 18 months, it's hard to predict, right? Nobody's going to be able to predict. But just looking at some of the money coming into the instrument, in this case, Bitcoin, and all of the investments, all of the different things that how they're playing out, we are seeing that happening. I mean, it's very solid right now in 60, 70K, in that range.
Yeah.
So it's creating this large foundation, and hopefully it's going to take it to the next level.
Yeah. I mean, Bitcoin's been a lot more stable than Berkshire Hathaway, right?
Take that, Warren Buffett.
For those of y'all that aren't into the joke, yeah, there was some kind of technical difficulties that caused Berkshire Hathaway stock to like go down 99% in value. It crashed, and they said it was just a technical difficulty. But
a flash
algo
crash.
Traders, flash crash, whatever you want to call it. They had to halt trading on it.
And I'm not gonna be mean on Charlie Munger, because some things are, so he said some ideas are pretty good, but yeah, he used to say that Bitcoin is like rat poison.
Rat poison squared. Oh gosh, yeah.
So the other one, it's interesting. Some of these people, right? These figures, they are very vocal. A lot of people kind of like they have their own following. Like there's a lot of people that love Warren Buffett, right, and Charlie Munger and all of that, and their ideas and their ideologies. There are many ways to win in the game, man. The other one is Kathy Woods. Sometimes she makes very outrageous, I guess, claims, right?
Headline grabbing. Yeah.
I guess. But this one, the last week, there was a news that she was pulling out of the ETF, because she has her own ETF for Bitcoin. And they were planning to apply for the one on Ethereum, but she was pulling up. What do you think that? What do you think that is happening? Why they are pulling off from the
that's
filing
pretty
of the
curious.
ETF?
Actually, maybe they just want to go all in on Bitcoin and not worry about Ethereum. Maybe they believe more in Bitcoin than Ethereum. I'm not sure, but I would think if there's opportunity to make money, why wouldn't they? Like why would they just pull out preemptively? Interesting.
I think that is more like why you are trying to get pennies, right? Or saving pennies to actually make dollars. I think that they notice, okay, yes, there's money here on the ETF, but and they're only making like 0.21% on that. Like instead of doing this, we should just raise money with investors and literally just buy Bitcoin.
You know what? They might be. It's kind of like, right? We started off mining Bitcoin. With the money that we spent on the equipment to mine Bitcoin, we're gonna have like triple the amount of Bitcoin right now
Yes,
if we would have just bought it. So
we were smart, but we were not brilliant.
Yeah. A good way of putting it, right?
Yes, and I think that again, when we were starting in all of these, we actually were mocked. Like, why you guys are doing this?
You're
Like,
gonna burn down your house running those miners. It's like, well,
yes,
maybe.
like you're paying a lot of power. Like
Yeah,
$500 like power in your house, right? Just by running this machine.
yeah.
So yes, who's laughing now? So yeah, but I think that maybe we were too biased on our technical backgrounds to say, this is cool, right? And
Yeah.
instead of just being more the financial side, it's like, hey, have you noticed that if you just buy it, all
It's a
right,
lot easier too.
a lot
Yeah.
is easier and no, exactly.
Oh
But
man.
also think about it. In that time, there was not a lot of ways to buy.
Yeah,
I
that's
mean,
true. At that point, there wasn't. Yeah.
Coinbase was coming in, but they had a lot of limits. So and I remember literally buying like with strangers, right? So and
Hmm.
some of my friends, including you, were helping me to get some just to build my stash because they had limits like just matter sometimes couple of coins. So, but yes, I think
Yeah.
that going
I,
back to Kathy Woods,
yeah.
uh, I think that it's just that. It's just maybe thinking that that is just, hey, why we need to mess with this when there's already a bunch of companies that they want to do the work. Let's just focus on the investments, on the big
Yeah.
investments.
Maybe go the Michael Saylor route, right? Michael
Mm.
Saylor route. He's already made billions and billions and billions, right? So it's easier than to just make pennies off of every transaction, right? Essentially.
You know
It
what
could
would
be
be the
true.
funny thing is that we never catch to Satoshi Nakamoto as the richest man in the world, or group, or
I know,
whoever it is,
right?
right?
Whoever it is.
So because if that thing goes 1 million and the guy has 1 million, it's like just
Mhm.
trillionaire, the first trillionaire.
We did mention last week all the ETFs combined have a Nakamoto's worth of Bitcoin. So maybe if they all join forces at some point in the future, then they would be able to compete, right?
We'll see. It's one address,
Not
man. It's like
likely.
not likely.
Not likely, but if there was a way, that would be it.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah. All right, let's move to the next item here, though. Do you remember when we went to Mexico City? Uh, that's when we realized who will be the next Mexican president.
Claudia, Claudia, Claudia.
Explain the audience what happened.
All right. So we were going to Mexico City. It was my wife's birthday. We're like, we've been wanting to go to Mexico. We talked to Mando. He's like, yeah, I'll take y'all around. That's where I'm from. It's like, oh, awesome. Yeah. So we get there, we start driving into town from the airport, Mexico City, and Mando's like, hey, y'all want to go eat? I love this place over here. What is it called? Cardinal or something like that.
Cardinal, yes,
Yeah.
is one of the restaurants over there. Yes.
And we're like, oh man, there's lots of traffic. We can't even get into town. Like, we're having to pull these Fast and Furious moves, going like in reverse, doing the turns and stuff to try and get in and out. But it was blocked off. We're like, we don't know
First,
why.
yeah.
So
First of all, it was Friday, right?
yeah,
And coming from the airport, we were hungry. But and on top of that, there was a market on wheels, like those like shops that they
oh,
just
like a
put on
pop
the
up shop, right?
yeah, pop-ups, yeah, market, right? So with the all of the banners and everything, right? Like, oh man. And that's when we actually have to do. My mom did some moves there.
The maneuvers, right?
Fast and Furious,
Hey,
yes.
no dents though, so that's good. Well, so anyways, so we're like, okay, let's just park and we'll walk there. Well, as we're walking there, we like realize we're in the middle of a demonstration. There's people like with the dung dung dung, and people shouting Claudia, Claudia, and everyone's got their hats and they're waving the banners and stuff like that. We're like, what's going on? We didn't know, but there was apparently just this big rally for the future president of Claudia Sheinbaum going on. So
Yes, and basically we have to camouflage. I mean, to be honest, is that we are not following the politics over there, right? So,
yeah.
so but it's like, imagine if you are like in a rally with 1 million people. I'm not kidding. I really think that it was between 500,000 to 1 million. It's hard to size the groups because again, it's just like a massive amount of people. Then it's like, man, we have to ask for some of this in that way. They look like we are part of the
To
crowd,
blend
right?
in a little bit,
To
right?
blend in, right? So then I asked a person, it's like, hey, dude, can I get your banner and your hat? And the guy is like giving me a face like, GTFO, you know.
And then his friends like, come on, give it to him.
He's like, come on, man. He's like, everybody was excited, right? Like, they
Yeah.
are like cheering for Claudia, right? He's like, yeah, give it to them. And it's almost like give him a sape, right? Like a smack in in the head. And they go, okay,
Right?
okay.
Yeah.
It's like, they give the hat, they give the banner. And then we were like, yeah, Claudia. But again,
Now we're really part of it. Yeah.
yes.
Before the
So,
crush
yes.
happened.
And by the way, this explanation is for my friends in Facebook. Israel, I'm talking to you, and Chong too, right? So I'll send you this link once we finish the pod. But basically, and Raphael, right? Because they're like, man,
the
and
list
I'll
keeps getting
explain you
longer.
what happened there. But let's finish the story on the rally. So then we go to eat, right? And then we start not hearing anything. Like, we almost didn't hear like a noise or music or the band,
We're
right?
like, it must be over now. Good. Yeah.
And
No.
actually, a lot of the people were just going to it's called the Zócalo, which is kind of the center and the downtown on Mexico City. And it's like massive. Like, wow, how are we going to be able to get out from this? And after seeing the news, they were just bringing people in buses and buses. They stopped the whole city.
Yeah.
And we were in the heart.
Right in the middle of it.
We were right in the middle of the whole thing. And that's when we realized who was the next Mexican president.
Yeah. With that kind of support that we saw there, we're like, oh man, no, this was already decided. Like, that was a lot of people.
I don't think that is and again, I still have a lot of friends, family in Mexico. They don't like that party. They feel that it's a very socialist party, that they have destroyed the country. And again, I'm trying to be very impartial, right? There, because it's always politics. Politics is like hard, you know, like you can have an opinion one way or the other. Um, but I think that sometimes if you step back, I see it as a huge win um, for ideas, for what happened to the country. Number one is it's a female. It's the first female that is a president in the country, right?
Presidenta.
Presidenta. So that's a huge win. What's your take?
No, I love it. I mean, I think it's awesome. I think it goes to show that Mexicans are very open. It's not all about the machismo. They're very in favor of this. She was, I mean, I think previous to becoming the president, and by the way, I think she takes office maybe in October, I think. So she's got a few months until she does the transition. But she was the mayor of Mexico City, right?
I have no idea, man. I haven't even heard that. I'm not following it.
Yeah, so she was already kind of part of the government, and she's part of the same party that's currently in power, right? The
It's called
Morena
Morena.
party.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So she's Team AMLO. So a lot of people are saying they're going to kind of continue the same type of leadership that they currently have in place. And I think Mexico, if you guys are hearing about a little bit more about it in the news and the media, I mean, there's been a lot of positive press around it. I know the economy, at least from the outside in, seems to be improving. I think it's being projected that it's going to become maybe a top 5, top 7 economy within the next 5 years in the world. So, I mean, these are all great steps. They don't have the same type of, Mexico doesn't have the same type of debt that the U.S. has, right? We're adding $1 trillion of debt every 3 months in the U.S., and I think the finances in Mexico are pretty good. They've been pretty have austere policies, but at the same time, they've been able to increase the living wage by 20% a year for the last several years. So they're doing lots of things right, at least from the outside, right? We're not living there, so we can't really tell. But you keep hearing these things like manufacturing starting to go there. Tesla's been in a factory. They've got things to take care of. Obviously, not everything's going to be perfect, but it seems like they're doing a decent job.
And I think that it's just the ideas between capitalism versus socialism. And there is this quote from Nassim Taleb that he says, "You have to be communist with your family, like with your kids." And your spouse, then you are socialist with your friends, and then when everybody else capitalist. So
Uh,
so which it resonates, right? Like I cannot charge my kids just to have like
that's funny.
so I think that it explains very deep these ideas, right? So and I think that is politicians they tend to go in other areas, right? So uh, I I can see some of these point of views from different people and why they get so upset when you're talking to them. The reason why I was mentioning the names in the beginning of my friends is because I posted on my Facebook even when they were voting. It's like, I don't know why you guys are even going to vote. It's already decided.
Mhm.
Claudia already won, right? And I actually showed the pictures of me celebrating Claudia. When I would know once again, we just
Oh,
were
they're coming
there.
after you now, boy.
Bring it on.
Uh,
So, and everybody's like, oh, even comments to me is like, I thought that actually you finished university, man. I thought that you were an engineer. And another one is like, oh, so disappointing, right? Like, it's like, bruh, it's just, it is, right? Like,
yeah.
I mean, you just accept it.
It's
I
interesting.
can tell
And
you,
another
go
thing
ahead.
on Claudia, though, she's a physicist and she's a climate engineer and she's a Nobel Prize winner. Like, these are some pretty good accolades for the leader of your country, especially when you look at kind of what we're dealing with, right, in the U.S. And I'm not saying everything's bad, but I'm just it's like I think they're doing a good job, right? At least
I
in
think
the
so too.
optics, it looks good, right?
Yes, and I can tell you this: it didn't matter who will put there. They will put there. It's the thing is going to be socio-political, and actually, even there is going to be a lot of investment from other countries, including China. China
Mm-hmm.
is going to put a lot of money through Mexico just to try to funnel some products, right? So once again, I don't think that it will matter who was there. Right now, as long as they just continue to execute, continue to work hard, they'll literally be started to become part of the 10 more wealthiest countries in the world.
Yeah, for sure. I think Sochil, the second place woman that actually was running, she's also an engineer, also. So I think they had some good candidates to choose from.
Yeah.
And I know, no, you're never going to get everybody to agree, but it didn't seem like things were like going in the wrong direction. It seems like the current leadership had things going in the right direction, and this should be a continuation of that.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, still like all my friends in Facebook. I'm not gonna block you. Hopefully, you don't block me neither.
Well, on that note, don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment on ours. I'm looking forward to hear what Mando's friends have to say on Facebook. Hopefully, they actually comment on our YouTube. We love to hear from you and from them. And again, if you haven't watched our viral Bitcoin all-time high video, it's almost at 11,000 views. Go check it out. We've got a couple of others. We just released a brand new one that has our big friend Michael Saylor doing the big Lil Yachty what walkout on stage, so you guys can see that. But that's all we've got for today. Vale.
Bye.
Bye.